Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I will be presenting video about logical test in Excel because I wish to do another video about filtering data in Power Query, and to filter data correctly and with the correct results we need to understand the logic behind filtering. So let's get started. So the basics is simple. We have OR and we have AND logical tests, which basically means that we need to find a true value in one of the statements or in all of them. So let me give you an example. Any data that we have in our dataset, say this small table here, can be filtered in or out. So when I open my filter by pressing Alt and up arrow, like so, I will open the filter. And here I can select items. And this is basically what we are doing. We are selecting items, and this is the standard nomenclature for this. However, what is not always being said is that this is actually logical test, because in the range of this specific column of our dataset, we are selecting either operation type bought or moved to store or promotion. And we can do any value that we want. We can select bought or promotion, or we can deselect moved to store, like so. And this is very simple logical test that is asking, is the value in range bought or promotion? If yes, please select it. If not, deselect it. However, we have a small issue, because this logical test in filtering data like so is not perfect. Because say we want all items above 200 of value, where let me rephrase. When we want to have logical test with buy price above 200, or the item is bought, we will have issues selecting this, because it will not be as easy as it sounds. So what we actually can do is we can use filter function for this. And to give you a small sample, here I basically prepared a solution for you. So we have filter function with our range, with our criteria in a single include argument. So what this does is it basically takes all items from this range that are equal to bought in the operation type column. However, this is not the only option what we can do. Here, as you can see, I have another formula also with filter. And to be honest, plus sign is the OR operator, and the multiplication sign is the AND operator for logical testing. So what we are actually doing here is we are checking if this criteria is met, and as you can see, we have falses and trues all over the place. And this criteria here is the exact same. However, what you might not know, that the false value can be evaluated to 0 and the true value can be evaluated to 1. And as you can imagine, when we add those two values, 0 plus 0 always be 0, but 0 plus 1 will be 1, and 1 plus 1 will be 2. What this simply means is that any value in Excel, either negative or positive, that is not 0, will be your true statement, and any value that will evaluate to 0 will be your false statement. And this has very powerful implications when we are dealing with filtering data to what we actually want. So, for your convenience, when I select everything, I get zeros or ones in this specific case. However, there is also an option. The more testing you do, that you will have 0, 1, 2, 3. In nutshell, you will have any integer value that can be equal to the numbers of tests you have, starting with 0. So here I'm selecting from one column items that are bought or items that are promotion, and it works. And this is our logical test in one column. So this basically is equal to the same operation as filtering data here to select bot or promotion. We will get the exact same result. The difference will be here, because here we are selecting all the data that is being bought and all the items that are lower than 300. And this is example of multiplication, because any value multiplied by 0 will be 0, and any value multiplied by any other non-zero value will be that value. And in case of logical tests, this simply means that I will be getting zeros and ones only, which means that in this specific logical test, I can get only bought items that value is less than 300. A small cut-in, because I just noticed that in the video, the evaluation of the formula is not displaying correctly. So I want to add two things to that video. First is what will happen when you perform AND logical test on the same column. So as you can see here, this actually is the result of this logical test. We have some falses and we have some trues. The same goes for this. And to evaluate partial formula, press F9. So here, as you can see, we have another falses and trues across the formula. However, because this is done on the exact same column, when we evaluate the full expression, we will get only zeros. Why? The answer is very simple. Because the item on a specific line cannot be both bought and promotion. And because of this, we will get only zeros. And to evaluate formula, as I said, simply press F9. It will give you the exact same result as the little pop-up that you will have with Microsoft 365. However, this pop-up is not recorded by OBS Studio, sadly. So this is a small cut-in, and let's continue with the normal video. Thank you. However, when we check another test here, this is another OR logical test, and it simply checks if the item is equal to bought or if the item value from the buy price is less than 300. So as you can see here, we got all the bought items regardless of the price, because here, for example, it's over 300, and we get all items that are less than 300, like so. And this is actually way more powerful than just selecting data from this specific set. That said and explained, there is one specific test, and it is called XOR, where simply the OR logical test must conclude in one true statement, regardless of how many criteria you have. So, to give you an example in the third line here, this is testing if the date in the column B is bigger than January 1st, 2024. And in this case, when this criteria in XOR is met, we will always have true because we have just one test to perform. And in the example of this one specific test, we can have only true or false statement. However, in the multiple criteria option, we are checking two criteria, and only one of those can be true. So, for instance, here, the date is bigger than January 1st, 2024, and the item itself is different than bought, which means that we have two trues values, and because of this, we have a false statement here, because we have two trues values instead of just one. And the best example to show it is this one, because here the item is different than bought, which you can see by the little small evaluation value on top, and the date here is not bigger than January 1st, 2024. If we had more criteria, only one of them could be true for XOR to give you the true result. With OR, we can have multiple criteria being true, and it will result in the true statement. So for instance here, the item is different than bought, and the date here is false. We have one true statement. This is why this is true. Here, the item is different than bought, and the date is bigger than January 1st, 2024, and the OR is resulting in the true statement in this case, regardless of the amounts of true values that we have in it. The different case is another logical test, and this is the AND logical test. And this is very simple. As I showed and explained earlier, we need to check if both criteria are true, and in this case, the item is different than bought, which results in the true statement, and here it's false, which means we have false in the end statement. However, here, the date, as you can see, is bigger than January 1st, 2024, and the item is different than bought. And this results in the true statement, because both of the criteria are true. And now a little bit of curiosity in Excel. Any numerical value that is different than the perfect zero is actually a true logical statement, and any value that is equal to the perfect zero will result in false. Why I am saying perfect zero? Because in many cases, in many softwares, some values, even though they should be mathematical zero, they are having additional numbers beyond the 13th comma position. So, for example, if we have value that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, can be some numerical value at this point. And this, for Excel, will not be the correct 0 value. So, the best way to check if your value is actually 0 or it is approximation of 0 is to use the accounting format, and the shortcut for this is Alt H K. Now, why? Because you can see here that you have 0, 0, 0, and when I type normal 0 and I apply the exact same format, you will receive a dash. And this is very important because now I know that this is a 0 and this has some additional values beyond the third position. And in regards to what you are doing, if you are working with mathematics, this might be okay. But when you are working in accountancy, any value that does not evaluate to 0 beyond the third place after the comma is probably this evaluation. And without going into much detail, suffice to say that this is how computers are handling calculations, and not always they get the 0 value right because of the approximations that the software is using. And this is extremely simplified explanation. You can find it on the internet with the correct explanation. So if you use the accountancy format that I showed, you will always have 100% assurance that your value is or is not 0. And this is very important in logical tests. So, after this video, I will be creating another one with filtering data in Power Query on this specific data set that I showed here. So, I thank you. I would like to ask you to subscribe to my channel and help me develop this channel into full-blown tutorial for Excel. So, thank you, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.